and thanks for joining us. We're joined today by the Children's Laureate Wales, Eloise Williams. Hi, Eloise.
Hi. Hi, Dee.
So we're going to ask some questions about some of the books you've written and your writing and things like that. So the first question that we have is, what have you enjoyed the most about being the Children's Laureate Wales?
Oh, start with a really difficult question. Everything. It's just been absolutely amazing. So to choose the thing that's been the most enjoyable will be really difficult. I think, though, connecting with young people, talking to children about reading and writing and how important it is that they use their own voices and that their stories are really important and that everybody's made up of stories. So yeah, that connection with young people and also with adults who like reading children's books, and yeah, so basically connecting with readers.
And talking about that connection, you've done so much for children throughout the past year, doing lots of online events and creating activities. Have you found the time to actually write?
Honestly, not much time for writing, but I think the role of Children's Laureate is such an important one. I'm happy to give my time up for it, obviously. I have found some time for writing. I've been working in sort of short bursts, so I've been snatching moments when I can to write things down. I've got lots and lots of things going on in my head, ideas, and about 100 different story ideas going on. So yeah, it's been more of a focus on working with young people for the last year and a half than writing, and that's been great because I've got so many ideas from them as well. Not that I've stolen their ideas, but just they're so inspiring and they are so energetic and they're so honest, and that really inspired me to carry on writing when the laureateship finishes. So not a lot of time for writing. I've done a little bit, but not much.
Do you have a clear idea of plot, characters and setting before you put pen to paper? And you include lots of your own sort of fond memories and recollections in your writing. Is that a good starting point for aspiring writers?
Plot, I find very, very difficult. I spent a lot of time trying to work out what my plot is because it's my weakest point. Setting, I find really quite easy. I love landscape. I love walking around Wales and getting ideas. I feel as if when I'm walking, my feet are kind of treading up ideas for stories from the floor, if you know what I mean, the ground up. There's so much history and culture and so much to draw on tradition with Wales. And so setting, I find really, really easy, especially if I can go to the places I'm writing about. Characters I find very easy as well. They seem to walk into my life. I tell young people this a lot, that a character will suddenly appear in my head. And it's as if a person has walked into the room next to me. I had a particular character who I was writing my book Sea Glass, and she was called Scarlet when I was writing the drafts. And she kept coming next to me and saying, "That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name." And I was like, okay, so let me try different names. But eventually I said Lark, the most ridiculous name. I've never heard of that name before. And she's like, "Hey, that's my name." The characters kind of walk in and build themselves as I'm writing and talk to me. Setting is easy again. Yeah, plots I find very, very difficult. Experiences I had when I was playing outside and hiding in dens and all those sorts of things that you don't do so much as an adult. But I would really love to still do that. I'd love to go and hide in a den for a day and just watch the world go by. So yeah, I think we're all stories inside our heads. We're all made of different like adventures, and every day is an adventure. I try to think of every day as being a different story. So for example, if you make a mistake on one day, the next day is time to start your next story. So we've all got a million different stories inside our heads. So I think drawing on those little things, paying attention to the small things as well that happen in life is really important. And also there's adventures everywhere. You can use your imagination and travel anywhere. So you could look at maybe a memory of a day that you sat indoors because it was raining and make that into a huge adventure of how, well, Narnia, for example, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, of how she just walks into a wardrobe and there's another world. You could do that in your kitchen. So yeah, I think it's a mixture of memory and imagination, like.
I love that. That's and I love your describing of the characters. You see them physically and interact with them. That's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible.
They can be quite annoying as well. Like having children, teenagers around all the time.
You'd mentioned about really being observant, and you like walking a lot, and you've got a clear love of nature. And obviously that really inspires you. What is it about nature? What landscapes do you enjoy the most? Do you find the most inspiring?
That's a hard question. I find every landscape inspiring in a different way. So I'm thinking of the stories that I've written. Ellen's Island was set on an island because I went to stay on Caldy Island for 3 days and also visited Scomer Island, and I saw that there were puffins there, and I wasn't aware that we had puffins in Wales in like my late 30s. I didn't realise that. So as soon as I saw a puffin, I thought, I've got to put that into a story. That was kind of a rugged, kind of ethereal landscape, if you like. So something I'd never experienced before, being on an island. And there's all these little things like, okay, so how do they make their toilets work? How does their electricity work? All those questions suddenly appeared in my head. So I love that kind of landscape, something I'm not used to. Also, what I'm trying to think. Oh, so in Wild there was the waterfall, Sgwrs yr Aira waterfall. That means falls of snow. I'm learning Welsh. And as soon as I went there, I walked through this kind of very heat-filled, atmospheric landscape. You have to walk a long way to get to this waterfall. And when you get to the waterfall, you can stand behind it and it cascades in front of your face, all this water. You're standing between kind of this world and another world because you're looking out through the waterfall. So I found that hugely inspiring. Then in Gaslight, I was very inspired by the landscape of Cardiff as well, because I was born in Cardiff. Can't remember being born in Cardiff, obviously. I spent a lot of time there in summers with my family, and all of my childhood holidays, if you like, were in Cardiff. So walking around there, looking at Victorian buildings, and yeah, just all the little nooks and crannies and the history, and looking at maps of old Cardiff and where things were before was really inspiring as well. So yeah, all landscapes, urban and kind of countryside. I suppose where I live now is the most inspiring place to me. I live in West Wales near the beach, and I just love the sea. I just love to see any kind of weather. It's just so dramatic, and I feel like the sea brings in stories to us. So, which sounds very hippie, but that's how I feel.
Moving slightly off from sort of writing and inspiration, you also acted on stage, and we were wondering what was the favourite role that you played, or was there a particular role that you would always sort of gravitate towards given the chance, really?
Yes, interesting question. I always tell young people about my 2 pivotal roles, I call them. One of them was the Scottish play, which you're not supposed to mention if you're on stage, but I think it's okay on a Zoom interview. Lady Macbeth, which is a Shakespeare play, if anybody doesn't know it. She's the main character. She's a really interesting, dark, horrible character, but so much fun to play. So that was fantastic. There were so many lines to learn for that character, and that was in itself a really interesting thing to do, because I love the flow of language and the way that words fit together in different ways, and the rhythm and sound of words as you sound them out. So that was one of my favourite characters. Play. Another, which I always tell young people about, was the part of a fence. So all I had to do for the part of a fence was stand there with my arms like this, and the person next to me got to be a gate, and they opened like this, and I was quite jealous of the gate because they got to move. So I'm sure it's very good for my arms to hold them up like that, but it wasn't the most exciting of roles. But it just shows that every part is an important part, because that fence was an important part of that play. Yeah, so they're my 2 favourite parts.
Fantastic, that's amazing. They couldn't be more different either, really, could they?
That wasn't as a child in a nativity, that was as an adult, just to clarify.
How long did you have to hold your arms up like that for? How long were you on stage?
It felt like hours. I think it was probably only about half an hour, but there were opportunities to put your arms down as well. You didn't have to hold them out. It's quite hard to hold your arms like that for a long time.
Hi, Eloise.
Hi.
Hello. It's fantastic how your books inspire readers in lots of ways. Your first book, Ellen's Island, has been used by chefs for inspiration to create meals. I think it made BBC Two's Great British Menu. If you could only eat one meal forever, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Oh, can we stick to questions about writing? Oh no, what would it be? Honestly, when I talk to young people again, I always say, oh, something like salad. I should say salad, and actually it's chips. I love chips. I love chips, especially, you get them in a cone, the old-fashioned cone of chips with lots and lots of salt and vinegar, and you've got vinegar all dribbling down your arm. Love that. I also love Marmite on toast. And I know that's like a kind of love it, hate it food, But when I first had Marmite, I hated it because someone gave me a spoonful of Marmite. A friend gave me a spoonful of Marmite to try, and that was the most disgusting experience, but I love it now.
That's going to create a strong debate, I'm sure, between our listeners, the Marmite debate.
Yeah.
Your latest book, Wild, came out during the lockdown. It provided another magical escape for us readers. I've been sharing it with my 10-year-old and we absolutely love it.
Oh, lovely.
What sort of books do you like escaping into?
That's a really good question. I love kind of fantasy books where you go into another world. I just think that's amazing that a person has invented a world inside their head and they're sharing that with us. I think that's magical. But I love every kind of book, and I really push myself to read things that I don't think I'll like, just to see how it works, whether I think it's interesting, whether I can learn something. I think you learn from every story. So yeah, all books really. I really like scary books because I like to be scared while I'm safe. And I think that's really important to be able to experience different things whilst in the safety of your bedroom, for example. And I love books about nature, anything to do with nature. I'm reading a book at the moment that a friend gave to me. I was feeling sad one day, and so she gave me a book called Nature Every Day, I think it is. And yesterday was Listening to Trees Day. You had to go and listen to a tree, and I just, oh, that was amazing. Absolutely loved that.
The leaves, the branches, or are there other things you can listen to?
Okay, don't get me started. This will take hours of explanation. To sum it up really quickly, you listen to the sound of the sap rising. Apparently in the spring, the sap rises inside a tree. You can hear the root system, you can hear it drinking water, you can hear voices. No, you can't. But I hug trees anyway. To my niece's absolute horror, I hug trees quite a lot. So I do listen to trees, but it was lovely to have a day dedicated to listening to trees. The day before that was lying down on a lawn, which was lovely too. So yeah, anything to do with nature really, anything to do with magic, anything scary, anything wonderful, anything interesting, anything.
This March, Royal Mail unveiled a special gaslight themed postbox in Cardiff to honour you for the amazing things you've done during lockdown for children. How did you feel when you found out about it?
Very stunned and astonished and amazed. It's not something I thought would ever happen. But yeah, wow, what an amazing thing to happen, really. It's kind of overwhelming, and I didn't actually believe it until I touched the postbox. I walked up towards it and I'd been told it was there and I'd seen the design and everything, and I just actually, I thought someone was having me on, it was a joke. But when I got to it, I was like, oh, this is just beautiful. It's kind of a dark royal blue, purple colour, and it's got Nancy, the main character from Gaslight, running across it, and gold stars, and it's a tribute to Cardiff, which is where the story is set. It's also got a photo of my head, which I'm not so sure about. But yeah, what an astonishing thing. And also because I've been doing lots of projects with young people, it helped me to get a bit of attention for those projects as well. So that was a wonderful thing too.
That project's seen schools and children of all ages share their letters they've written to themselves, like Wild does in your latest book, celebrating individuality and what makes them happy. But what are the things or possible places that make Eloise most happy? I know you've mentioned some already, but what are the things that make you the most happy?
So many things make me happy, and so many things make me sad as well. So I'm a very emotional person. I think I'm very in touch with my emotions. I think that's a really good thing. Happiness comes in small things. My dog in the mornings shuffling around, wagging his tail, it just makes me happy every day. Flowers make me happy. Kindness makes me happy. The stars make me happy. It's usually things about nature and kindness and people being kind to each other and kind to themselves. I think with that project, the letter writing project, it makes me extraordinarily happy that young people are taking part in that and being kind to themselves. Colours make me happy. My favourite colour is green. So many things make me happy, but it's usually small things and not things you can buy. It's experiences rather than experiences, and kindness and nature rather than material objects, if you like.
Simple things can mean so much.
Yeah, a conversation with my mum makes me happier than most things. And also my niece. If my niece smiles, she's 15. If she smiles, I'm happy, because she doesn't smile a lot of the time.
I can say the same for my teenage son as well. You mentioned earlier that you've got lots and lots of ideas bouncing around your head, and you've been extremely busy these last 12 months. Is there one particular idea that seems to be rising to the top more than others? Sort of avoiding spoilers, or?
There is. I mean, I had to choose an idea in the end. As I said earlier, I got so many ideas, I just write them down and put them aside. They always seem more shiny and bright than the idea you're working on. It's a bit like schoolwork, I suppose. If you're doing English, you want to be doing something else, science-based, or, you know, you get distracted into wanting to do whatever you're not doing, if that makes sense. So yes, the idea that I've got kind of two, which goes against what I was saying. There's one about something that washes in from the sea. As I said earlier, I think stories are brought in by the sea. So something strange washes in from the sea, and it's unexpected and unexplained. And it's how the people in that little town deal with it, in the little town I've created. And also there's another one which I'm just embarking on, which is a historical, again, and historical, to say it correctly. Possibly going to write this one, I think. It's a bit scary. It's an Elizabethan story, which means a lot of research because I don't know much about the Elizabethans. And I've got the characters annoying me already. And the storyline is coming. I'm just trying to find a way to put nature into this story. Usually I'm inspired by nature to start the story. With this one, it wasn't. It was something historical that inspired the idea. So now I'm trying to find a way to bring nature in so I can connect with it as a writer, because I always connect through nature to my stories.
You talked about research, Eloise. How do you normally go about researching, you know, the part of the book that you aren't that familiar with?
Yeah, Google is my friend. Particularly in lockdown, I've used a lot of online research. There is nothing I like better than to go and sit in a library and pour through a book. I have this vision of myself with white gloves on, going through a really old tome that no one else has been through, you know, like a very, very ancient book. But yeah, I just love sitting in libraries. I love finding out new things. And I find that as soon as I'm sure it's the same for everybody, but as soon as you find something new, you're drawn to find out about something else, and you're drawn to find out about something else from that thing. And it just sort of, word I'm looking for, it's like a roller coaster where you just keep learning and learning and learning and learning, and at some point you have to put a stop to that, because you'll never write a book if you carry on with that. So I'm very specific in the areas that I'm allowed, if you like, to research. So for my next book, the Elizabethan one, should I write it, I will choose maybe 10 topics that I can research in that time, because I can't learn everything about Elizabethan times, and I will try my very best to stick to those topics. It won't work, but I'm going to try.
Just before we finish, I have to ask this question. I've been on your website and just looking at the About Me pages and the wonderful pictures and photos you put up there about your childhood and memories of growing up. And I noticed there was one of you dressed as a witch with your, well, not pumpkin, your turnip. And I remember this myself. My mum spending hours carving a Swede, you know, her hands red raw with carving a Swede. And I used to think that's how you did it. And I just wonder, when was it you realized that actually pumpkins didn't require so much effort?
What a strange question. I don't know. We just didn't have pumpkins, did we? No. I don't know how old you are, but we just didn't have pumpkins when I was young. And actually, I think pumpkins do require quite a bit of effort, because I cut the corner of my finger off trying to do a pumpkin a couple of years ago and ended up in hospital. So I don't know. I just think of all the things that my mum did for us when we were kids, and they're just making, it sounds a bit Maria von Trapp and Sound of Music, but she used to make clothes out of curtains and her old dresses, and she used to make sweets by hand, and just all these amazing memories that I feel like we need to pass on. I think they're really interesting. I think we should all be writing our stories down and all our memories.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Eloise. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. All the very best with your writing and your new ideas and your next adventures as Children's Laureate for Wales. And we hope to speak with you again really soon. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you so much. It was lovely to chat to you.